What is up, everybody? This is Alex from HGTV. Today I'm talking about Masters of the Universe, a film they made for some reason. Why did Amazon make this? Because Barbie was huge. For how badly the film bombed, I was just seeing so many people complimenting it and saying it was fun and enjoyable and had good humor. So I checked it out, and I did not have a positive experience with this. I thought it looked terrible from the trailers and confusing that they decided to make this at all, and it bombing is the least surprising thing ever. He-Man is one of those properties where I don't even think the 80s film was successful. It's campy and stupid and just should stay in the 80s. So the 80s movie bombed as well. For me, it sits in the same pocket with other 80s properties like G.I. Joe, Ghostbusters to an extent, Thundercats, Inspector Gadget, all of this IP that if you're an elder millennial, you might have some affinity for, but if you're not in that very specific age range, or had an older brother or something that introduced you to it, there's basically nothing about it that is interesting. And I had my mind open. I was like, okay, let's just try and see what is so alluring about this to the three people that went and saw it. The monstrous creature Skeleton Man was pretty good casting for Skeletor, and is easily the best part of the movie, even though he still kind of sucks. There are some tweaks you could make to make this more enjoyable, but I knew within minutes that the tone was not going to be for me. Where in the utterly egregious and pointlessly long 20-minute preamble, the narration has lines like, "The sword of power. Yeah, I know." Like they're embarrassed that they're even making the movie and that they have to be playing in this sandbox that sucks. I don't get the appeal of this world, not through this movie anyway. Everything about it is like corny in a way that isn't fun, that doesn't really sell anything interesting. It's self-aware in kind of an irritating way, not in like a Lord and Miller, like we know what we're dealing with here and we've got to like try extra hard to make this good in some way. This just felt like, yeah, we know this sucks. That's the joke, right? And that's okay if you're a 90-minute comedy, first and foremost, but it would try and be cool at points. It would try and change the tone up, but it's like, well, you've already sold this idea that we shouldn't care because it's stupid and it's He-Man and it's all a meme. And isn't it funny and silly that this is just a cynical Amazon movie designed to sell toys for Mattel? Personally, I think it would be way funnier as a comedy if they played it completely straight. If you're so embarrassed about the source material, then why even make it? I just don't get it. It's not like the world building is complicated. You didn't need a 20-minute prologue. Like, you could slice out a lot of this movie and barely anything would change. And for the first 20 minutes, there's a bunch of really bad kid actors and just feels like it's wasting your time. I guess it looks quite expensive. They spent an absurd amount of money on this movie. $170 million. It's just ridiculous. If you couldn't make this shit for like 30 or 40 million, there was no point even doing it. The audacity to even make this is embarrassing. I'd quite like it if it actually felt like a movie instead of this toyetic, look how stupid this all is. But also, look, it's that thing three of you know. And please buy our toys. I would love to see like sales numbers for this line. It just felt very, okay, Gramps. I don't think kids give a shit about this property. Like, what is cool about it? The whole glam metal, Flash Gordon, John Carter, like Conan the Barbarian thing is such a product of its time and doesn't translate very well when you try and match it to its contemporaries, especially because we've had so many examples of filmmakers who grew up with this stuff and loved it and kind of embodied and modernized it with their own work. Something like the Guardians of the Galaxy movies or Pacific Rim are channeling that kind of 80s corny energy, but giving it a new voice. Despite how good a lot of the CG and production value is, there's really nothing the film can do to make it work for what I'm looking for. I don't care about this main character. Skeletor's kind of fun, I guess. At least it's a Jared Leto performance. We don't have to look at his face. That kind of helps. But it's still Jared Leto getting a paycheck. Maybe this will be the end of his Hollywood run, after a string of Joker, Morbius, Tron, and now this, and the more bombing. Well, Suicide Squad was huge, but you get what I'm saying. I'm not trying to be a buzzkill. Like, this movie is really speaking to some people, but I sincerely do not get it. And when I was doing some reading about the development of the film and how stuck in limbo it's been for so long, it all made perfect sense to me. It's been passed around from Warner Bros. To Sony to Netflix. Netflix sunk like $30 million into it and then realized this is going to be too expensive and it's obviously not going to pay off. And some of these names attached to it are hilarious over the years. Like, starting with John Woo, it's like, what? I'd rather see that. It looks like Lord and Miller were in the list of names along with Ryan Johnson. And out of everyone in this whole list of names, they're probably the only ones that maybe could make this work, but they're way above that now. McG, it's just like, who hasn't had their greasy mitts all over this? Oh my god, David S. Goyer was hired to rewrite the script. Goyer intended for the movie to be on the epic scale of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Like, why are these people allowed to waste all this time and money with no one being like, this is a He-Man movie, what are you doing? The brand IP thing is just so embarrassing. So ultimately, the film winds up being directed by Travis Knight, who directed Kubo and the Two Strings, Bumblebee, and now this. I guess I've seen all of his films. Kubo's easily his best work, but a very forgettable and weak story despite how gorgeous it is to look at. I feel kind of similarly about Bumblebee, which I watched after all the people that grew up with Transformers watched it and loved it and were like, this is how you do it, and I just thought it was a pretty forgettable, bad blockbuster with basically nothing memorable about it unless you're like, love the Transformers. So like, just do Bumblebee again, but this time with He-Man. The comedic tone of the movie reminded me of the worst jokes in the Guardians of the Galaxy films. Like that whole Taserface gag from the second one. Not only do they do the exact same thing, like the same punchline. Look, it's some obscure property that no one knows. Isn't this a deep cut reference and it's stupid? But most of the jokes in the movie are of that kind of caliber. With them wrapping up towards the end with a scene where they even mock the protagonist's name. Like, they're scared to have He-Man in the title, they're scared to say He-Man in the film. It just reeks of insecurity and embarrassment at what it is. When it needed the opposite approach, in my opinion. It needed to lean into how fucking stupid and ridiculous it is, and not be stuck being pulled in these different directions. In this 2-hour, 20-minute long movie, there are maybe about 10 minutes I enjoyed, all involving Skeletor. He definitely has the best jokes. There's a good human resources joke and a pretty funny sequence that's quite surreal and odd. That kind of humor worked for me, and was followed up by the only action scene I actually thought was kind of fun, because most of it is just a mess of neon bullshit. This entire chase scene through this woodland, which was very reminiscent of that chase scene from The Incredibles with those flying disc vehicles. But here it was weightless, looked awful. You don't care about anyone or anything that's happening, so that action is just fluff. Oh yeah, the whole Fisto gag as well. That's 2 blockbusters this year, making fisting jokes, weird coincidence. When the green liger shows up or whatever, and it's called like Cringer, I started laughing, so I was like, is that really what that thing is called? And that was funny, that was insane. And just highlighted like what you can't make this work, at least not through this angle, and feels like fan service for something that only a small group of people like even understand. He-Man to me is literally just the hey yeah YouTube video, which is referenced earlier in the film during this sequence. I love how everything that Amazon makes has to sneak in that Amazon smile, with it being incorporated into that action scene. I kind of felt like I was in a dream, or like a bad trip or something. All this random shit just thrown together with no real cohesion or hook to it, outside of it just referencing this dead property that no one cares about. There was a small segment where the action was so stupid and using like these characters that like launch around and smash into the ground and like their necks stretch. And it was reminding me of when those Aquaman movies just go completely batshit insane, but there's not that much of it. And it wasn't really ironically funny outside of Cringer. And then I get to the credits and feel like the fever dream has ended. And not only does it tease a sequel like a Marvel movie, this like Final Fantasy character shows up and I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, is this a crossover event? Like, what? I know it's like some reference or whatever, but is this like an exciting character appearance? Like, please let me know, genuinely. It just doesn't add up with how much they spent on this for how capped its overall reach is. Like, this isn't a Barbie situation which was broad and didn't have fan service characters, or if it did, it didn't affect the experience you not knowing, where this was built up like a superhero movie. Like they expect you to be doing the Leo DiCaprio pointing meme in every scene, and I'm sure 3 of you are doing that, but I just don't get the approach that they've somehow thought this would be like $1 billion movie. Idris Elba sleepwalks through it. The only 2 performances I actually liked were Jared Leto and the lead guy. He was clearly into it. He was trying his best to make that tone work. But nah, this was just not it. And to clarify, the film bombing is not an indication of its quality at all. Loads of amazing films have bombed. An example of them taking like an older property and trying to make a better, funnier, sincere film out of it was this Dungeons & Dragons movie, which was good and did bomb. for how much they spent on it. So it can be done, but I'm getting unreasonably angry at this stupid ass film that no one cares about. So I'm gonna wrap that up. Please let me know if you enjoyed it and what you enjoyed about it. I'd be curious to know. But yeah, I thought this was pretty awful. One last thing to shout out that was a quality aspect of it was the Daniel Pemberton score. Getting Brian May in there is crazy. Yeah, kind of wasted on this movie. So let me know your thoughts. Am I being too harsh on this? Am I being a bastard cringer? Let me know and I'll see you on the next vid. Bye!